This is Roy Remark de Guzman, the Operations Manager of ABC Manufacturing, and I'll be presenting the case study on business continuity plan during pandemic COVID-19. The enhanced community quarantine (ECQ) has paralyzed the operations of most companies in the Philippines, particularly in Luzon. All sectors of the society were affected, especially the manufacturing industries, malls, hotels, and restaurants, most service sectors, public and private utility conveyance, leisure and recreational establishments, construction sector, to name a few. The landscape of the business sectors might be drastically changed because of the pandemic crisis and the uncertainties of the future. Given these assumptions, strategies and priorities of the affected industries needs to be revisited to cushion the impact on their bottom line. Most investors or business owners are forced to adapt to these unprecedented and uncertainties on the business climate. There might be a wait and see attitude of some investors. Some also might take the risk to venture for new business opportunities to capitalize the pandemic crisis, and to some business as usual even amidst of potential financial drawback or break even or loss. Here are the assumptions. One is raw materials will last for 1 month inventory. High rejection rate of 30%, which translate to loss opportunity in sales. Production efficiency is 80%, way below the standard target of 95%. High turnover rate of manpower and high rate of absences due to no public transportation. So for this meeting, our agenda is to addressing the impacts of the pandemic crisis, reduce the operations expenses, and to come up with business continuity plan. Here is the impact of the pandemic crisis in the economics. According to NEDA, based on the guidelines for the enhanced community quarantine, private establishments that provide basic necessities will remain open. These include activities related to food, health services, banking, preparation and delivery services, manufacturing and processing plants of basic food products and medicines, water refilling stations, banks, money transfer services, utilities, among others. Also included are business process outsourcing establishments and export oriented industries. In light of these, the losses in these sectors are expected to be lower. And here are the alternative production that the NEDA encourages other manufacturers. At this point, it may be useful to engage a wider portion of the population in supply of the essentials to fight COVID-19. Existing business may be encouraged to reconfigure their product offerings to include these essentials. Here are their suggestions. 1. The aficionado, the bench, and the Johnson& and Johnson, among others, can be tapped for production of alcohol and disinfectants. Since perfumes are most alcohol based, they may be able to shift production easily. Perfume containers can be used as alcohol containers as well. For the rubber and rubber products, mhm, they can produce more rubber footwear, rubber gloves, and even those used as rubber hose for dextrose. For the textile and wearing apparel, can be encouraged to manufacture fabric cloth face masks that comply with the right specification production standards. And for paper and paper products, they can shift to do production of more boxes. And this can be used in packing essential materials and relief goods for distribution. So from the assumptions or the bottlenecks that we have, we can reduce the operations expenses by these actions. First is I do the analysis of root cause using the 5 Ys and the corrective and preventive action kappa to answer these bottlenecks. First, raw materials will last for 1 month inventory. Why? Because you are not able to purchase supplies ahead from lead time before enhanced community quarantine. And why? Because there are stockouts occurred. And why there are shortage occurs? Because raw materials inventory was not forecasted properly. Why it was not forecasted properly? Because of lack of optimization inventory system. Why there is the lack of optimization? Because there is an employee inaccuracies in the inventory records. So how to answer this is I suggested the containment action that the inventory supervisor must take inventory management online courses to update and enhance skills because online courses are cheaper than traditional seminars and forums. This will enhance the skill sets of the person in charge in inventory, most especially in this kind of situation we are experiencing right now. The employee will receive certification after passing the exams, plus the modules and PowerPoint presentation for reference. I made here a expense comparison from the traditional seminar and workshop versus the online courses. So we see here that the price for online courses is only 600 pesos for a 3-day online session, and that is from udemy.com top inventory management courses. We can enroll our inventory manager or inventory personnel to this one. And see here that the seminar and workshop traditional one prices 3,500 pesos for only 2 day seminar and workshop, and these may compromise the safety of our personnel. The preventive action for this problem is to develop auditing and reporting procedures in inventory system. With that, once the employee was able to pass and had the certification for the online courses of inventory management, they can make and develop auditing and reporting procedures in the inventory system. With that, the corrective action will result in to provide an evaluation tool that will be able to pinpoint the details underlying the measurement. With that, we can also tap one of our IT personnel to help us to make an evaluation tool to pinpoint the details. Conclusion, therefore, it is cost effective to enroll inventory supervisor or the inventory personnel in an online course with less expense of 2,900 and will assure the safety of employee. The action may be incompetent if the employee will not take it seriously. So we have to make, a policy for that it must be taken seriously. Second bottleneck is high rejection rate of 30%, which translate to lost opportunity in sales. Why? Less production accumulated defects more than the ceiling number. Defects was not properly monitored. There are machines and equipment were not in good condition. Employee was not able to check and evaluate machines and equipment. And the root cause was employee was not trained to check and evaluate machines and equipment. So, my suggested containment action for that is to train existing positioned employee for machine and equipment checking, maintenance and evaluation because trained and certified employee is the most qualified to do such tasks. Employee will be trained by information by the machine and equipment manager, and the detailed information for such training will be discussed by the human resource and training department. And the preventive action for this problem is to check and evaluate machines and equipment before and after production happened with trained and certified employee. This will have the less rejection rate. Rejection rate, that is the defects rate that we are producing in every production. So the corrective action is check and evaluate machines and equipment regularly before and after production happen with this trained and certified employee. Number three, production efficiency is 80%, way below the standard target of 95%. Why? We are not able to meet the standard output rate. Why? Because we are not able to meet the target units produced, and we are not able to meet the target production period That is the formula of the production efficiency, that is equals to um, actual output divided by the standard output rate times 100%. And that's the come up, or that's the result. We only have shorter time to operate, and that is because the root cause is due to the shortage of manpower. So we need to answer this, or to resolve this root cause first. So my suggested containment action for this is to provide shuttle service. Because due to COVID 19, public transportation was stopped, implemented since April by the IATF, or the Interagency Task Force. This is the main reason of other employees why they were not able to report to work. So I also made here the expense comparison why we have to rent than to let the other employees to render overtime. So here is the example. We have the 50 workers, and all of them must render overtime due to target units produced and additional 3 hours of work per day. Production is 26 days per month, and all of them are minimum wage rate. So here in the computation, that as you can see, the standard working time is only 8 hours, correct? And they have only an hourly rate of 47.31 from the minimum wage sourced from National Wages and Productivity Commission, from DOLE. And we will be asking them to render 3 hours of overtime per day, and with the hourly rate that is 59.14 pesos. And that will be an additional 177.42 for their daily rate, that will become 555.90. And we have the 50 number of workers, so that technically the daily OT expense that we will be accumulated is 27,795 pesos. And for that, the monthly overtime expense is 722,670 pesos, and that is more than the rent expense that I am presenting here. Because to rent a bus, that is for a day, that is only for 17,012 pesos, and we need for a month, that is 26 number of days. So to compute, that is for 442,312, and with this renting service, inclusion of the driver's fee, gas, and parking, so we will have a cheaper, and we will save 280,358 pesos monthly for renting a shuttle service, as well as reduce the high rate of absences due to no public transportation, and will hit the target produced units, which eventually guaranteed sales and hit production efficiency. Wait, I forgot to explain, or to present, okay, the corrective action for that, okay. A preventive action is to rent a shuttle bus for non-vehicle employees to prevent high rate of absences and shortage of manpower during production. So the corrective action is to rent a shuttle service for at least 3 month period until public transportation resumes. Number 4, high turnover rate of manpower. This is very typical for a company, but very unusual for this kind of situation we are now. One is employees decided to resign. Online jobs are more in demand. Employees wanted to work from home instead, because employees are so much worried about the spread of COVID 19. And as we all know, it is due to the facility layout. So we have the answer to this facility layout, because they are very worried about the transmission of the COVID 19 virus. So my suggested containment is to provide a revised facility layout, including physical locations for machines, equipment, and labor. Because employees are so much worried about transmission of COVID 19, implementing this new production and manufacturing facility layout to employee with accordance to interagency task force provisions, employees will be at ease to work. So here is my proposed new facility layout. As you can see, there is a lot of space in the manufacturing area, and there will be only two workers per cell to do the production. And with this conclusion, and for this I conclude, when it comes to new facility layout, those removable machine and equipment were only transferred and located to where the operation will not be compromised, as well as production efficiency, and workers will have more distance from another. Expenses accumulated from transferring the machines and equipment are very minimal, and we have already um, discussed this with the technical department, so they are okay with this, and we can go through and implement this as soon as possible. Lastly is the high rate of absences. Many employees decided to be absent. Why? Because some employees were involuntary not to report. And why? Some employees cannot transport to facility. Not all employees have their own vehicle to transport. And the root cause is there is no public transportation, as we all know. Okay, so the problem of this high rate of absences, we can apply also the high, the the number three bottleneck, that is the okay production efficiency, because as we all know, the manpower is the most important source resource that we need for the production to produce finished goods for us to sell. Okay, let me read again the conclusion. Therefore, it is cheaper to rent a shuttle service than to render overtime, because the company will save 280,358 pesos monthly for renting a shuttle service, and as well as reduce the high rate of absences due to no public transportation, and will hit the target produced units, which eventually guaranteed sales and hit production efficiency. Here is my proposed business continuity plan, and let me uh, define first or give you the reason, because this plan identifies vulnerabilities and recommends necessary measures to prevent and or minimize impact to operations. This is the framework for business continuity plan, business impact analysis, recovery strategies, plan development, testing, and exercises. Okay, let's go to the business unit details. So production, we have 90 workers in the production department, and it's very critical. Okay, so here presented. Human resource, we only have 5 personnel. Finance, 5 personnel. Technical, 5 personnel. Marketing, we have only 5 personnel. So human resource and finance is a medium priority ranking, and technical and marketing, that is the lowest. Okay, so production department, the function for this is responsible for creating the finished products which the company needs to sell to earn profit. And the impact of COVID-19 to this is production efficiency is 80%, way below the standard target of 95%, because of shortage of manpower due to no public transportation. So what recovery strategy I am proposing is it will provide the shuttle service, as I mentioned a while ago, for the non-vehicle employees until public transport resumes. Intense management of supply chain will be implemented to safeguard sufficient raw materials. For the human resource department, that is responsible for recruiting and placing workers, also handles employee relations, payroll, benefits, and training with the medium priority ranking. The impact of COVID-19 is a higher rate of absences due to no public transportation and possible transmission of the virus. With this, we need to, as I mentioned, we provide the shuttle service for non-vehicle employees until public transport resumes, and we'll be implementing the social distancing in the facility, and of course, wearing the personal protective equipment. For the finance department that is responsible for planning, organizing, auditing, accounting for, and controlling companies' finances, we have the impact of low financial capacity of market due to ECQ, high loss opportunity sales of main products produced due to market demand, which resulted to lower net income. So my proposed recovery strategy is we will produce good as NEDAs, alternative production to support campaign to fight COVID-19, as well as continuing production for guaranteed sales and employment for the workers. For the technical department that is responsible for planning, monitoring, and controlling machine, equipment, and facility required for production operations, the impact of COVID-19 is employees are so much worried with transmission of COVID-19 as well as the result high turnover rate due to paced working physical location in the facility. With that, the recovery strategy is urgently provide a revised facility as I mentioned a while ago in the um, a while ago presentation with interagency task force, physical distancing, and personal protective equipment as well. Marketing department, the function is in charge of planning and managing marketing campaigns that promotes the company brand. This is actually low in priority ranking, but there is also an impact of COVID-19 to these. Is they are forced. This one is a good impact. Is the marketing department is forced to pivot strategies and navigate through the new normal because lack of bandwidth to quickly create new content as a result of shifting priorities. And my recovery strategy suggestion for this is to encourage marketing department to redevelop marketing strategy through applying to online courses and workshops focusing on the new normal. And that will be my presentation. Thank you so much for listening. Until we meet again. Bye.